What's up everyone, welcome back to ARTV. Year-end list season continues today with my choices for the top 20 albums of 2016. Now overall, I would say it was kind of a letdown of a year. I didn't feel like we got a ton of great releases, a lot of meh and good but not their best releases from a lot of established acts and bands, so I kind of flip-flopped on my opinions of the year. Like, yeah, there were some great albums that came out, and yeah, there's a lot that I'm going to give honorable mentions to, but didn't quite think they were top 20 worthy, but you'll see. Now, before starting this countdown, I do want to say, if you're new to the channel, I do lean more towards like rock, alternative, and pop, so there's not a ton of hip-hop or electronic music covered in either my honorable mentions or else the top 20 itself, but they are present, at least in some forms. It's just that I'm not as nuanced and detailed in my knowledge of those genres, and I don't care for them as much, so I don't try to fake it and pretend. I don't try to put things on my list just because I feel like other people would expect them to be there. So take my list with a grain of salt. These are all just my choices. I want to go ahead and show you my honorable mentions first. Side note, Kendrick Lamar and Carly Rae Jepsen unfortunately were not able to qualify for the actual list just because these were leftovers from their most recent studio albums and not studio albums themselves, so that was the only thing in contention for the year were actual albums. So as much as I loved both of these projects, unfortunately they did not qualify. Now, if you're looking through those honorable mentions, you probably saw some bands that maybe you didn't recognize, others that you might not have gotten to. I highly recommend these projects, some really established ones like David Bowie, who unfortunately passed earlier this year, leaving a haunting swan song of an album, to one that I just didn't expect, but it really grew on me, Radiohead's A Moon-Shaped Pool. I had never previously reviewed Radiohead on the channel, but you guys, if you saw the review, know that I really liked that project. There's some other great ones from the alternative rock scene in there that I highly recommend, Kings of Leon, Two Door Cinema Club, Phanogram, Parquet Courts. So many great albums that came out that it just didn't quite make my list, so do check those out. So without further ado, for the top 20, go ahead and kick off that countdown. Leave me a like on the video to let me know that you're enjoying the year-end list, and I will see you guys with number 20.
So if your love can let me go, then I'll find heaven down this road.
Now, you guys might have actually missed my review of the debut album by the singer, songwriter, producer simply known as Steven. And I don't blame you, not a ton of people know about him. He's a very mysterious figure, but I figured I had to fill you guys in because he made some of the most thought-provoking, beat-centric music that I heard all year long. The airy and impactful Crossfire is enough to captivate any listener, demanding a deeper dive into his music, aka his album Sincerely. Light It Up shines like the catchy bright star that it is, while Mr. Man serves as a hopeful and delectable treat about midway through. The real moment of truth cries out boldly in the form of the title track, calling out the overly privileged to complain rather than actually using their privilege to do something or else counting their blessings in general. It's a little bit of acoustic, plenty of beats, and a lot of heart and soul. Definitely check this out.
Rich or wealthy, pick your poison. I think I paid for one too many abortions. Another Celine, it's like a routine. It's like a Ferris wheel of waist trainers and 7 jeans.
Rap kingpin Pusha T showed off all of his strengths on Darkest Before Dawn, dropping some fire in late December to keep us all warm during those cold months. It's just a shame that we didn't get that King Push album sometime this year, but unfortunately delays, excessive delays at that, and rap music seem to go hand in hand. Keep Dealing's dark key-driven melody kept me coming back all year long, while more experimental moments like the unique FIFA proved their staying power as well. King Push proved that he's got the skill. It's time to take over and capitalize. Strike while the iron is hot. Please release that King Push album next year. Hard-hitting and thoroughly gripping, I only wish the UK band made an album that's longer than 28 minutes. After a hiatus, Basement returned with Promise Everything, a spunky and motivating album that really just reaches the highs and lows of an emotional journey. It reminds me a little bit of post-grunge in terms of its dreary and heavier guitar tones, spitting out these riffs that will remind you of, well, whatever, never mind. This sadly flew way under the majority of people's radars, so if you're into rock music, get your hands on this gem of an album right away.
All I wanna do is tell Gardenia what to do tonight.
2016 was a cruel year, taking away some of the most well-known and respected names in music. Active since the 1960s, post-pop depression kind of feels like a closing note for rock star Iggy Pop. A swan song in a way, if you will. But that doesn't mean it's an album stuffed full of somber moments. In fact, it's actually quite the opposite. An all-star cast of both Josh Homme and Dean Ferretta of Queens of the Stone Age, alongside Matt Helder on the drums of Arctic Monkeys. Holy shit, yes, I am on board. You guys know I was excited for it, and they totally nailed the vibe that I was just hoping for here. That sludgy desert rock styled guitar and sinister overtones are pretty much producer Homme's keynote marks at this point, really leaving an impressioner with the listener over these 9 songs. You guys know I love Pierce the Veil's last album, Collide with the Sky, so of course my sights were set on the long-anticipated, long-awaited album, Misadventures. While, in my opinion, not quite as great, it sure does give it a run for its money, winning as it mixes in these new sounds such as synthesizers into the batch. Vic Fuentes sounds fantastic, just ace all throughout on the vocals, with these well-structured and varying degrees of guitars hitting all the right spots. I've personally grown most fond of cuts like Bedless, one that I initially did not care for as much, and the more experimental Gold Medal Ribbon, which saw a little bit more of an electronic and almost danceable style working in there, with both of those songs joining the ranks of my instant favorites. Bass heavy, floral, and fading still kicks all amounts of ass. Easily one of the best songs that this post-hardcore band has ever created, proving to us that they're actually much more than just that post-hardcore label.
He looks a lot like me.
Relient K's new album felt like a breath of fresh air. This year had its highs and it had its lows, but Air for Free felt like an earnest and meek moment that deserved a lot more attention than it got. Matt and Matt are sounding better and more youthful, full of life, vibrant than they have in a long time. They're playing off of each other's chemistry so well and created something really special in the studio for us this time. What instantly drew me into this, though, is Matthew Thiessen's vocals on this alongside his lyrics up against these really smartly layered piano and drum rhythms. It's an absolute smashing success with 16 songs that really deserve a play from really anyone. From seeing the beauty in life to accepting a new responsibility, or in heartbreak, trying to see the good in that or what could come from this. It's a wonderful journey that I'm going to continue coming back to time and time. Self-aware pop songs with a little bit of everything. That's the human condition. Jon Bellion transforms from writing the hits for others to writing the hits for himself, showing us that he wields the greatest weapon to success, and the success behind those songs, his wit. Interesting commentary, unexpectedly good rapping, and poppy electro-charged jams fill this thing to the brim. Do not sleep on this one. There's something for everyone. I know it always seems to surprise a fair amount of people each year whenever I put a record that didn't initially get a 4 out of 5 or else higher on my year-end countdowns, but here's the thing, opinions change and records grow on you, and I think Teens of Denial by Car Seat Headrest is a perfect example of that. While nowhere near as lo-fi as their origins, there's still a trace of what Will Toledo captured early on with Car Seat Headrest, primarily in the thought process behind it. It's a lengthy but very rewarding road, I would say, that we drive with with Toledo here, from the guitar fury of Vincent to the witty destroyed by hippie powers, but it's certain of one thing: he never steers us too far off course. Indie rock and alternative buzz that actually lives up to the hype of critics is welcomed in this day and age. Just go ahead and try out track 1, fill in the blank. If you don't believe me, you're going to be humming along, tapping your foot, and agreeing in no time.
And every time I go back to my apartment, all I want to do is get stoned. And I'm sick and tired of walking out on my carpet and waking up all Mario, so I'll cry you out.
Essentially spitting in the face of his doctor, pup singer Stefan Babcock persisted with his punk rock career even though he was told that his voice was shot and that essentially the dream is over. After learning different methods of therapy, the Canadian punk outfit actually went on to have quite the year, including teaming up with Finn Wolfhard of Stranger Things for the touching Sleep in the Heat music video. At just 30 minutes, this LP never wears out its welcome, from the riotous and biting old wounds to the self-deprecating my life is over in doubts. This record never stops working its ass off to entertain your eardrums.
Maybe I'm the right one, maybe I'm the wrong. Just another play, the pirate and a papillon. Time to call it a day.
Let the getaway slip deeper into your psyche and you'll find yourself with a deeper appreciation for this album's intelligence. Opting to add something new to their style, the Chili Peppers called upon one of my favorite producers of modern times, Brian Burton aka Danger Mouse, to help them create this record. You'll be hearing bumping synths and keys driving the likes of Goodbye Angels and the absolute smash of a single Dark Necessities, helping the band approach things from a different angle. Dark Necessities really stood out to me as a fantastic song, so many Red Hot Chili Peppers elements to it, but a lot of new twist as well. Anthony Kiedis easily tops his songwriting compared to the last record, obviously teaming up with Brian Burton on some of these tracks to write them, but he kind of went for a different approach here. Some of the lyrical content is a little bit weird and out there, something that reminds me maybe a little bit more of Stadium Arcadium, and of course Flea on the bass sounding funky as always, but also playing in a more subtle and nuanced groove style to really round out the album's style. Guitarist Josh Klinghoffer actually really gets a proper chance to shine this time around. It's really the finishing touch that helps the getaway explode in all the right ways.
I get on my knees and beg you, hear my sinner's prayer. I am what I am, and I don't want to break the heart of any other man but you.
We've entered the Pink Hat era of Lady Gaga, and I couldn't be happier. I honestly think this is her overall best, and not to mention her most intelligent album of her career so far. Now, Gaga still definitely knows how to have fun, as noted on the howling good time that is John Wayne, and the clap-worthy Ayo that really gets everybody riled up, but also takes the time to reflect on this album, on life, happiness, and relationships, on like the title track Joanne, and the Father John Misty assisted Sinner's Prayer. Organically instrumentated, powerfully sung by a truly talented woman. Do not let this sophisticated pop album go to waste just because you saw her wearing a meat dress 5 years ago. Weezer are just making it look easy at this point, slightly tweaking and evolving their style over these past 2 records that have both been excellent. 10 songs have never gone down so smoothly. It felt like it was summer already just listening to these California-inspired songs back in April whenever this album released. And Rivers Cuomo, he doesn't age, man. It's weird, and his songwriting is slightly nerdy once again on this record, and really out there on some of these tracks. It's a little bit deceptive, like King of the World, for example, an upbeat anthem-styled song that's actually about his wife's kind of weird upbringing with really strict parents and how he wishes he could take her and pull her out of this situation if he was the king of the world. Wow, did it just get darker in here? But all in all, this album is a joyful time, with the highlights being the Pinkerton-esque single Do You Wanna Get High and the tasty as hell LA Girls that has a melody that just makes you smile. I feel good whenever I listen to this album, and I think you will too.
My mood's dictated by our conversations, and if you don't text, I get too frustrated. I want you all to myself this time.
I often complain that modern pop punk is stale, agonizingly and unnecessarily sad, and just lacking in fun. Well, here come the band Waterparks, the Texas-based pop punk trio, to save the day. These dudes have a clear chemistry about them, mixing everything in from these pop hooks to the dance floor ready electronics alongside their pop punk roots. Even the slower songs hit the spot lyrically, offering up casual and relatable topics on a platter that feels anything but ordinary. I highly suggest Double Dare for driving, parties, dancing, and repeated listens to cheer up even the worst of moods.
It's just a story, we all know the feeling. You don't believe it, you're ruining my pretending.
Reckless chaos fills Drive North, but never completely boils over, balancing itself out with some smoother and more experimental jams to give their debut full-length as the band Swimmers a very well-rounded and unique sound. Brothers Cole and Max Becker trade lead vocal duties to add variety, and Billy Joe Armstrong of Green Day's son Joey bangs the drums in splendid fashion, and there's a self-awareness and a passion that drives this young band to success, really lingering on the ears all year long, as the wispy Hannah splices together bare-boned essentials to make a catchy song, and the fierce title track Drive North ends it all in a chaotic storm. Just keep an eye on these guys, because they're going to keep trending upwards. You're going to see these guys doing big things in the coming years. I'm definitely slipping this one in on a technicality, so bear with me here. Yes, this album was released in mid-June of 2015 in the UK, but the reason that it's eligible for my list, you're wondering? Well, it wasn't released in the US until February of 2016, this year, so it's eligible, okay? That's enough. I don't even want to hear the arguments. I understand it's a technicality. I'll accept it. Politically driven art rock, electro-lined pop, and almost manic instrumentals line up a sweeping success for Get to Heaven, gathering its biggest strengths from playing so well together as a band. Singer Jonathan Higgs often hits a very high register with his voice, staggering all over this genre-fusing machine of an album. I do highly suggest checking out the deluxe edition of Get to Heaven, and I know that that's not something that I normally recommend. I normally only cover standard editions, but please trust me here. Habsburg Lit and Yuppie Supper alone make it worth your time. Do you ever find yourself just flipping through Jared Alonji's Twitter feed while on the toilet at 1 a.m.? Well, I do, and that's actually how I reminded myself to check out the newest album by Atlanta-based rock band Microwave. There's a very visceral, raw spark burning all throughout this entire LP, much love, keeping me hooked for more and more listens. The singer's voice, alongside these absolutely delectable and lush guitar licks, is what keeps me coming back, ranging from the more upbeat and fast pace on Drown and Lighterless, the latter of those being an absolute favorite of mine, a huge standout, one of my favorite cuts of the entire year, alongside the absolutely dismal half-scream powerhouse that is Vomit. If you're up for a down-to-earth album with lyrics of growing up, friendships, or else accepting or neglecting change in life, then this Microwave album is going to blow you away just like it did to me.
Who the fuck do you think I am? You ain't married to no average bitch, boy. You can watch my fat ass twist, boy. As I bounce to the next dick, boy.
When someone you don't normally care for all that much drops one of the best albums that you've heard in a long time, at least of 2016, you just kind of drop your jaw quietly and whisper to yourself, where has this version of you been all along? I didn't even know it, but secretly this is the album that I was anticipating Beyonce to make all these years. I knew that she had talent, and I knew that she had spirit about her that I did like, but for the most part, it just aggravated and annoyed me. But here, she finally gets on track, and we join up with her in kind of a weird mental place. She's kind of in a downward spiral mentally, because she's alleging that her husband, Jay-Z, has had an affair, and the downfall of that, and just the weird mental state. This is an album that is all about a woman who has truly been been wronged and is out for blood. But she shows us that she's not just that little ball of anger though, she has other emotions as well. She shows us that she's heartbroken on sandcastles, and also reflects on other parts of her life, like on the unbelievably fantastic country jam Daddy Lessons that totally caught me off guard, and even gets a little bit political on what is easily my least favorite moment, Formation. Beyonce's voice really just captures the tone of a tortured soul perfectly, like on Don't Hurt Yourself with Jack White. Holy shit, a rock song that just came out of left field that I never in a million years would have thought Beyonce would have made. She's really just shedding some talent and light in the pop world in 2016, which we just so desperately needed this year. Please, more like this, Beyonce. With Green Day being my favorite band, of course I was excited at the notion of new music from the punk trio. Hearing Bang Bang gave me high hopes, and those high hopes turned into relief as I fell in love with Revolution Radio. There's overtones of reflection, memories, politics, warnings, and fun, but there's one thing that's definitely for certain. Green Day have not lost their touch at all, and in fact, they're playing with the kind of ferocity and ingenuity that proves people wrong all day long. This is easily a step up from the trilogy, featuring something for all kinds of fans to love. Young the Giant instantly caught my attention shortly before the release of their debut self-titled album in 2010, and it looks like years of keeping my ears peeled finally paid off, because this budding band just delivered the album of their career, and nearly for me, the album of the year, clocking it at number 2 on my list. From the raw and rocking jungle youth to the storytelling of Titus Was Born, beauty and imagination play a huge role in the success of Home of the Strange. It's almost odd how well they can pull off jumping around from the haze of tracks like the opening one, America, to something like the sitar and bass smash that is Mr. Know-It-All. One of my favorite songs of the year, one of the most cleverly penned songs. I fell in love with it just because of its commentary. Not to mention, lead singer Samir Gadia is sounding stronger and more elegant than ever on this one. I mean, come on, if that's not blowing you away, then I don't know what to tell you. I don't even think I need to justify this album's ranking anymore. It's fantastic, it's got a little bit of everything, and if you're into alternative music, you're going to love this thing. It's hard to explain exactly how this record overtook my life, but rest assured, it did. Strengthening their roots in every way possible as a band, this eccentric and downright fascinating UK act took the world by storm in 2016 with their album I Like It When You Sleep, For You Are So Beautiful, Yet So Unaware of It. Paying homage to the 80s? Check. Adding in a perfect blend of different genres from pop to guitar-driven alternative to gospel? Also check. Just pretty much check off every box that I could prompt you with, because they have covered it all with this well-layered and simply gorgeous album. This record succeeds not because they've stayed the same, but because they have pushed themselves. Lyrically, first of all, look to the doubt-ridden If I Believe You and the thought-provoking narrative of Paris, for example, but also sonically they have moved themselves big time. This album reaches for the stars with its varied instrumentals here and goes full-on ambient with its instrumental moments. They might get a little bit slow for some, including myself, but rest assured, this album only gets better with time. Stream it, buy it, love it, if that's what you want to do. Whew, I am glad that is over with. That took several hours to film. I just could not get out a sentence tonight. So hopefully you guys enjoyed my top 20 albums list right here on ARTV. Be sure to leave a like on this video. Let me know that you enjoyed it. And of course, leave a comment with some of your favorite albums of the year. Keep in mind, these were all just my picks. If you want to see the full list of honorable mentions, there's a link in the description down below. Thanks for supporting the countdowns and being here today, guys. Watching ARTV, it means a ton to me. I hope you guys are really enjoying these videos. Check me out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at these links right here. They're in the description down below. You can check out another year-end list I did right here, or the full playlist here. I will see you guys very soon with more countdowns right here on ARTV.